What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Zero Lab. Today, we're going to be taking a look at how to play Archaludon EX in the post-rotation Journey Together format in the Pokemon TCG. Obviously, rotation is coming up quickly. It's in about 4 weeks, and that first big rotation format with the new Journey Together set is going to be in Atlanta the weekend of April 11th. So a lot of people are starting to take a look at that format, think about what decks they want to play in it, and today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of ways to play Archaludon EX in this format. But before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and we really do appreciate it. Taking a look at the first version of Archaludon that we're going to look at today, we're looking at Archaludon Double. Well, Hops Double is a new card we get in Journey Together that says when you evolve it from your hand onto one of your, what are these things called? Wooloos, Hops Wooloos. When you evolve your Wooloo into the Hops Double, it acts basically as a boss's orders, and you can gust up any one of your opponent's Pokemon on the bench. So this is a really, really powerful gusting without using a supporter for turn, and I think it's really going to help out Archaludon because Archaludon loves to use boss's orders to target down your opponent's EXs that they can hit for 220 and take 2 prizes on. So in this list, we're going to be playing the 4/4 Archaludon, a 3/3 Hops Double, 1 Pheasantipity, 1 Squawkabilly, 1 Relicanth, and then one of the new Hopsizations. This just hits for 240, so it hits a little bit more than the Archaludon EXs. It does do it for 4 energy, but it's still a pretty good attack just because it can hit a little bit higher number than the Archaludon EX. It's also got that first attack, which does 30 to the active, 30 to one of the benched Pokemon, so you can set up some damage for your Archaludons that way as well if you start the Zacian and go second. We have 4 Research, 3 Iono, 3 Turo, 2 Black Belts Training. This supporter just lets your Pokemon do 40 more to your opponent's Pokemon EX, so Archaludon can hit 260. That knocks out Raging Bolts, Skuldangos, that sort of stuff. And it also allows your Zacian to hit 280. Then we have one boss's orders. Not as many boss's orders in this list because we do have the doubles to act as our gusting, and we are playing Prime Catcher as our ace spec. Then we have 4 Nest Ball, 4 Ultra Ball, 3 Vessel, 3 Night Stretcher, 2 Gears, a Pal Pad, 2 Jamming Towers just to slow down those TM Evolution decks, as well as to turn off any Bravery Charms or those sorts of things, and then 9 Metal Energies. So I think this deck is really strong. It's really fast and consistent. The gusting on the double rather than having to use your supporter for turn is really good because then you can use Black Belt's Training as your supporter for turn while you're targeting down something, or Professor Turo or Iono. Any of those things while you're still targeting down something on the bench, which makes a lot of sense to me. Potential inclusions in here, I think you could consider the Scoop Up Cyclone as the ace spec over the Prime Catcher because you already have a lot of gusting with the doubles. I still think Prime Catcher is really good, but Scoop Up Cyclone could make sense as well. The other ace spec that could make a little bit of sense is the Maximum Belt. That would allow you to hit 270 on your Archaludons or 290 on your Zacian. And then playing Black Belt with that, Zacian could hit 330, which is enough to Oko like a Dragapult, and your Archaludon could hit 310, which is knocking out opposing Archaludons. So a couple of other options there for your ace spec. The next version of the deck we're going to take a look at is Archaludon with Dunsparce. Dunsparce is just a very good draw engine that we have post-rotation. It's probably one of the better draw engines we have post-rotation. We've lost Refinement, Curlia, Bibarel, all that sort of stuff. And so I think this is just a good way to build the deck just to have some additional draw. So you have 4/4 Archaludon, 2/2 Dunsparce, still have the Relicanth, Zacian, Pheasantipity, and the Squawkabilly. They have a 4/3/3 line of Research, Iono, and Boss, and then 2 Professor Turo scenarios. 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Night Stretcher, 3 Nest Ball, 3 Earthen Vessel, 2 Gears, a Pal Pad, Prime Catcher as our ace spec, Artisans as our stadium, which is why we're down to that 3 Nest Ball, because we can find our Duraludons with that Artisan. And then 3 Vengeful Punches, just to help us get some additional damage into play. So Vengeful Punch, when our opponent's Pokemon knocks us out, they take 40 damage from the Vengeful Punch. That can help set up some damage for our Archaludons. I think this is really consistent because the Dunsparce helps draw you cards. You could play the Dunsparce EX as well to help you get through any walls that are an issue, like Mimikyu, for example. You can already do that on the Duraludons, though, so not necessary, really. And you already have an out to Cornerstone with the Zacian in here, so probably don't need the Dudunsparce EX, but it is certainly an option if you care about that. But the Vengeful Punch is really interesting. To be honest with you, I think that the previous version of the deck that we looked at with the doubles is probably better than the Dudunsparce. You don't necessarily need the additional draw with this deck. And the doubles ability is just so strong, targeting down your opponent's Pokemon. But the Vengeful Punch is a very interesting way to play the deck as well. Potential inclusions for this is still adding in like a Black Belt's Training, or maybe you could add like the Monkey Dory with the Adrena Brain ability. So your opponents are, when they knock you out, they do extra damage with Vengeful Punch, but if they're not one-shotting you, you can move some of that damage with the Monkey Dory and just get even more damage into play. I think that is certainly an option for this version of the deck. And the last version of the deck we're going to be taking a look at is a much more unique one, but people are kind of calling it Archaludon. It's reminiscent a little bit of the current Cloth Terapagos poison deck that we have in the current standard format. But this Archaludon is looking to go second and essentially just be able, or well, I guess it probably goes first because you're looking to donk things with the Pecharunt. So you can just set that up. You play 4 Carmines, you play Ditto, you play Latias to retreat in and out, and then you've got 4 of the Ancient Booster Capsules and the Brute Bonnet. You're just going crazy trying to get that turn 1 donk with the Pecharunt. But on top of that, you still do have the Binding Mochis. So you can poison your opponent's Pokemon. Perilous Jungle makes them take 20 more damage from poison, so they're taking 30 from poison. So 220. Your Archaludon's basically now doing 220 and 290 with a Binding Mochi. And then when they knock you out, you can send back up the Pecharunt and do more damage between turns to them to potentially finish off some larger attackers. So I think this deck is really cool in theory. I'm not sure it's just as good as playing Archaludon kind of like the vanilla way, but it is definitely fun. Taking donks is really, really fun as well. Potential inclusions for this deck, I think you could potentially play a Badoo. The problem with the Badoo is you are playing the Perilous Jungle, so your own poison would knock out your Badoo, so you couldn't do extra damage with the Binding Mochi with the Badoo, but I still think having a Badoo in here, just when you go second, could make some sense. Playing a second Latias also makes sense. This whole strategy revolves around having your Latias, it feels like. And we don't have Heavy Ball anymore, so a second Latias in here could make sense. And then just a third Archaludon EX. You're playing a 3-2 line in here, and that is obviously your main attacker, so maybe a third Archaludon EX would be good. But those are some potential inclusions for the Archaludon Poison deck. But I think this is really, really fun. The Pecharunt Brute Bonnet Poison with the Perilous Jungle is really interesting. It's unfortunate that you have to play Perilous Jungle now. Obviously, we've lost Radiant Sneasler, so we don't get that additional poison damage from the Radiant Sneasler, but that is... that's all right. We have the Perilous Jungle to make up for it. It is unfortunate, though, that makes it so that we can't effectively or as effectively play Badoo, because the Itchy Pollen doing 50 with the Binding Mochi and then the extra poison is really, really strong. So you don't really have that access to that if you have the Perilous Jungle in play, because the Perilous Jungle would knock out your own Badoo as well, because both of your poison Pokemon take 20 more damage from poison. But yeah, I think Archaludon is positioned quite well in the meta. The first version of the deck that I am personally going to be trying out is the one with the doubles. I think having that gusting effect on a single prize Pokemon is very, very strong, and it allows you to play more supporters for turn. I think that's just really beneficial. One thing that I would maybe look at in here is seeing if you could play some of those Vengeful Punches. Those certainly make sense. There's just a few things that you can't quite hit for as much damage as you would want to. But the Jamming Towers can also help against like the Raging Bolts if they're playing Bravery Charms and those sorts of things. But anyway, hopefully this overview of different ways to play Archaludon was helpful to you guys. I know Archaludon is a big fan favorite deck of a lot of people in the TCG right now, so it's great that this is still going to be a functional deck. Post-rotation doesn't lose too much, loses the Radiant Greninja, but that I think is certainly manageable. But let us know down in the comment section below which version of Archaludon you're excited to try out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Very excited for the Journey Together format.